How the Party of Labour of Albania moved away from its Marxist-Leninist positions. Nexhmije Hoxha, 1997, first edition, speech given in the Italian city of Teramo, in which he explains the causes of the defeat of socialism in Albania. Source: Mauricio Foundation. Principles Magazine, issue 50, August October 1998, pp 26-36. HTML: Fernando S. Araujo. It is known that one of the fundamental principles of communism is the guiding role of the Communist Party in organizing, directing, and successfully carrying out proletarian revolutions and building socialism. The experience and reality of Albania testify to the coherence of this Leninist thesis, not only from a theoretical but also from a practical point of view. Since the founding of the Party of Labour of Albania in 1941, the Albanian people have fought against the Nazi-fascist occupiers under the leadership of this party and Comrade Enver Hoxha, carried out the people's revolution step by step, established the power of people's democracy on the principles of the dictatorship of the proletariat, and built socialism. I will not dwell here on the 45-year period of socialist construction in Albania, because the results achieved under the leadership of the Party of Labour and Comrade Enver Hoxha are more or less well known in the time at my disposal does not permit me to do so. In fact, I have in mind to expose the negative aspect of the painful Albanian experience of what happens when the party of the working class abandons the struggle in defense of Leninist principles, allows itself to be attracted by the slogans and alternatives of the modern revisionists, thus renouncing not only its hegemonic role, but going so far as to deny itself. How did all this happen? Why did the Party of Labour of Albania move away from its Marxist-Leninist positions? In 1985, the Albanian people and the Party of Labour lost their leader, Enver Hoxha. It was precisely in 1985 that Mikhail Gorbachev took over the leadership of the Soviet state and the Soviet Union, and with his ideas on perestroika and glasnost, he went further than the anti-Leninist and anti-Stalinist revisionist Nikita S. Khrushchev. Enver Hoxha did not live to fight against Gorbachev, but until the end of his days he fought with the exemplary determination of a great Marxist-Leninist revolutionary, openly denouncing the dangers that modern revisionism posed to the workers' movement, and especially those arising from the revisionism that was nourished and inspired by the leadership of the first country of the proletarian revolution of socialist and communist construction. As far as his country was concerned, Enver Hoxha did not limit his struggle solely to the ideological plane, but always denounced the danger that threatened the independence of socialist Albania in the political, economic, and military planes resulting from the intentions of the new Soviet imperialist superpower. When Gorbachev took over as head of the Soviet Union with his reforms so applauded and exaggerated by imperialist circles, Western chancelleries, and the world bourgeois press, the first cracks appeared in the heart of the state created by Lenin and Stalin in the union of Soviet socialist republics in the country that saved the world from German Nazism. That was the hope of the peoples of the world and of the international workers' movement that had always supported their struggles for freedom, independence, and for their national and social rights. Gorbachev and his collaborators not only attacked the foundations of the state created by the October Revolution, but using their anti-Leninist theories, they destroyed the fraternal ties and the internal situation in the countries of popular democracy. He said to us, imperialism and big Western capital, do whatever you want. Gorbachev confirmed his anti-Leninist betrayal in the speech he gave 10 years ago on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the October Revolution. It is clear to us all what happened and continues to happen in the former Soviet Union after this precipitous fall and departure from the Leninist line, a fall that Gorbachev himself could not bear, giving way to the Yeltsin so that they could carry out the betrayal to the end, reducing the Soviet Union to a country without the political and military weight it represented, abandoning it to complete economic, moral, and social chaos. The 10th Congress in June 1991 was prepared by a special commission that did everything it could to discredit the oldest members of the political bureau and most determined communists. But it is time to talk about my country, where an unprecedented catastrophe has occurred. As far as I know, no one has yet made a thorough and general analysis of what has happened and continues to happen in Albania. It is not easy to make such an analysis because there are numerous internal and external factors, and the connections between them are obvious. However, it is also undeniable that behind the scenes there were scenarios and plans that one can imagine and that remain unknown to this day. I myself have not yet embarked on this work because after 1991 I was in prison for more than 5 years and had only been released when the undesirable events of 1997 occurred, during which time I was practically isolated, unable to move around and meet anyone I wanted to. However, from what I was able to understand and follow of the events that took place in Albania, I will try to present in an incomplete manner only some crucial moments that influenced the Albanian crisis. I will not dwell on the description of the historical background and circumstances that influenced the Albanian crisis, nor on the resulting catastrophic situation. In his analyses, Comrade Enver Hoxha stressed that the establishment of the revisionist power would lead to the degeneration of socialism and the restoration of capitalism, that the parties were in the mire of social democracy, and that modern revisionism would turn into a cat's nest. The course of events we are experiencing proves him completely right in these predictions. Unfortunately, his party did not adhere strictly to Lenin's lessons on the indisputable leading role of the party as the vanguard of the working class. It did not appreciate the importance of his warnings about the danger of the resurrected modern revisionism that threatened socialism in the countries where it was being built in all communist and workers' parties in the world. The leader of our party separated from us at a time when the political forces of the big capitalist bourgeoisie of the most industrialized countries were at the height of their activity to deal a devastating blow to the communist forces, especially in the countries where they were in power. This is how the Euro-Atlantic pressure also made itself felt on us. High-ranking officials came to Albania and insisted that Albania change course. Our leadership's response was, Albania must be accepted as it is. This was the European community, the Helsinki Convention, the OSCE, etc. However, the anti-communist headquarters under the leadership of the United States, which was organizing the last battle to overthrow the socialist communist system in the Soviet Union and in the countries of Eastern Europe, could not withstand the obstinacy of the Albanians. So it organized the fifth column. Thus, political and economic threats came from both the East, from former friends, and from the West, and followed one another. As soon as he took power, Sali Berisha waged a fierce campaign against the communists. It was the time when the Berlin Wall was falling. Horrifying trials and executions were taking place in Romania. The Italian television network, where I continued to deceive young Albanians with the propaganda of a paradisiacal life. Honest communists strove during the year 1990 to maintain as firmly as possible the main positions embodied in the Constitution of the People's Republic of Albania of 1976, which Enver Hoxha left us as a legacy. The truth is that during this period, the country's economic situation was unsatisfactory due to objective and subjective reasons, which I will not mention here. The elements that organized turbulent demonstrations in the name of the democratization of the country took advantage of the discontent of many working class groups, who were no longer assured of the raw materials for production and of young people who could no longer find work as before. We were under extraordinary pressure, both internally and externally. Particular emphasis was placed on revising the Constitution, demanding the abolition of the leading role of the Workers' Party and the permission of political pluralism, the abolition of Marxist-Leninist theory as the guiding ideology of our party and our state, the introduction of joint stock companies and foreign credits, the establishment of diplomatic relations with the United States, the opening of religious institutions, and the release of political prisoners. Among all these demands, there were some that we could accept, but they were of secondary importance. They demanded that we renounce the Marxist-Leninist road, socialism, that we return to the past, that we restore capitalism with all its foundations and structures. At this crossroads, the party leadership found itself in disagreement. The majority were loyal to the line of Enver Hoxha. The same was true in the party organizations. But the first secretary of the Central Committee and some other leaders did not share the same point of view. He made two decisions that were fatal for the party. First, in a personal speech, without seeking the approval of the political bureau, without submitting it to the vote of the plenum of the Central Committee, he gave the order to open the meetings of the party organizations to anyone who wished to participate, with the right to intervene in the discussions, without the obligation to be a member. Usually at meetings of grassroots organizations of companies, schools, cooperatives, etc., and even at plenary meetings of the Central Committee, where important economic and scientific issues were discussed. We always invited renowned experts who were not party members, but not just anyone who wanted to, as if the party organizations were free clubs. The communists reacted badly to this decision. In fact, the life of the party was destroyed, and in the course of subsequent events, it was even liquidated to be replaced by a new party, which at the 10th Congress in June 1991 took the name of the Socialist Party. Most of the communists, as well as most of the delegates, believed that this party would be the successor of the Labour Party, and even proposed different names such as the Renewed Party, etc. It was at this same Congress that the second eliminating blow was dealt to the Labour Party. I'm referring to the way in which the Congress was prepared, how it developed its backstage, and above all, the election of the new Central Committee and the powers that it was given. The Congress and its report were not prepared by the Central Committee, which was considered conservative, but by a special commission, which included the liberal members of the Central Committee, let's call them that, and other persons appointed by the first secretary himself. Since it was not approved by the Central Committee, mainly because of its criticism of Enver Hoxha, the commission demanded the dissolution of the Central Committee just 4 days before the start of the Congress. We did not agree because this was contrary to the party statute. The commission organized the work in such a way that the Congress, the oldest members of the political bureau, as well as the most determined communists, were discredited by means of base accusations without a political character, which served as the basis for the accusations that Sali Berisha later made against them when his government imprisoned them. The party that was created at this Congress held another one in which a Western-style socialist party was founded, which sent the first document to the technocracy of the European Socialist International. It is understandable that under these conditions, the electorate that continued to vote for the Labour Party became disoriented, and a good portion of them voted for the Democratic Party in the elections of March 2002, 1992, saying, let's see what this party will do. And the people saw what this party did and paid the price of human lives and endless anguish for the choice they had made in these elections. During all these years, they also got to know the Socialist Party, which, while holding social democratic positions, is making a transition towards the center-right, as it itself declares, in coalition with the other parties in government. The majority of the people, becoming aware of their responsibility, rose up in revolts to regain their lost rights. What did Sali Berisha give to Albania in the 5 years he was in? Power? In December 1990, a group of university students known for their liberalism set out to organize protests and demonstrations. At first, they made demands on the economy. Later, they put forward political demands related to the democratization of the country's life, freedom of opinion and organization. Along with the students was a cardiologist and professor, a communist for 25 years, who was the party secretary of the Faculty of Medicine, Sali Berisha, who had been sent by Rami Salia himself, according to what we heard. Under the pretext of calming the situation, Sali Berisha, originally from the most remote villages in northern Albania, came to Tirana to pursue his university studies financed by the state. He studied diligently and was sent to France several times to specialize. He was a good doctor, but he was also ambitious, authoritarian, and harsh with his friends. It was said he was very devout and courageous militant because he wanted to be elected to the Central Committee of the PLA, an objective he never managed to achieve, perhaps because he had married an Albanian woman whose mother was from Montenegro, linked to the OSNA, Yugoslav secret service. This was also the reason why he was never called for medical consultation by Enver Hoxha, as has often been said. Always ambitious in careers, he sensed the air that was blowing in the former socialist countries of Eastern Europe, and at the first opportunity he had in Albania, he went over to the side of the revolting students. Elbowing the students and other initiators of the Democratic Party, he placed himself at the head of that party. Sali Berisha was not shy about making a 180-degree turn from communist to rabid anti-communist. His cruelty increased over time, turning him into the first merciless paranoid persecutor of communists. On absurd charges, he had the members of the Politburo, as well as high-ranking party and state officials, including me, a comrade of Enver Hoxha, arrested one after another. Thousands of sympathizers, functionaries, and honest workers lost their jobs, were removed from their offices, institutions, schools, and military sessions. He placed himself at the head of the opposition, but not a democratic political opposition. Serious people who understood his purposes and his vile actions distanced themselves from him. The December movement, which many people called the Demo, Crack Revolution under the leadership of Salih Berisha, turned into an anti-revolutionary fascist movement, in which he himself placed himself at the head of typically Muslim Hitlerite squads. His slogan was, "Death to communism, the destruction to the zero level of everything that had been built by the communist regime." Because the United States had given him a blank check to rebuild more beautiful and more modern buildings. The Democratic Party became a conglomerate of reactionaries, collaborationists, former political prisoners, disinherited property owners, and rich people, ambitious people, servile and mediocre intellectuals, and others still eager to make a career, among whom were also communists. It was with the help of this contingent, overflowing with hatred pent up for 50 years, of the defeated and disinherited, of suspicious and corrupt politicians, that Salih Berisha undertook a fierce campaign of reprisals, even to the point of acts of vandalism and macabre acts. It began with the demolition of monuments and busts of Stalin and Lenin, and later toppled those of Nexhmije Hoxha, which provoked the anger of the people, who rose up in massive protest demonstrations throughout the south of Albania and in some cities in the north. Groups of vandals, former common prisoners, incited and paid, tore down all the symbols of the anti-fascist struggle for national liberation, destroyed museums, and desecrated the cemeteries of the partisans. They went so far as to commit the macabre act of unearthing, in the dead of night, without warning the families, the remains of the most prominent commanders who had liberated the country, among them the general commander, Nexhmije Hoxha, removing them from the respected place designated for the martyrs of the nation, where they rested next to their partisan comrades. Berisha revoked all honors granted by legitimate organs of the state, while at the same time he decorated the collaborators and criminals who had fought for the removal of popular power and who had murdered teachers, pioneers, young women who fought for the opening of schools and for the emancipation of women in the most remote villages of the mountainous regions, where backward and severe customs still existed. Having brought Albania to the brink, the Western powers, the US, the IMF, and the World Bank are now dictating what it should do. Salih Berisha abolished by decree the national holidays November 29, the holiday of the country's liberation, which was celebrated at the price of blood and sacrifices, and January 11th, the day of the proclamation of the Republic. The above mentioned facts are not even 100th part of all the evils that Salih Berisha brought upon our people in our country. Industry has returned to square one, agriculture has regressed to the level of the time of King Zog, all the negative phenomena of the past have resurfaced. Quarrels over a piece of land and a stream, old vendettas, endemic diseases have completely disappeared, swamps have reappeared, new phenomena of capitalist society have appeared, completely forgotten, such as immigration, or completely unknown in Albania, such as drugs and AIDS, and absolutely unacceptable, such as prostitution and organized crime. During Salih Berisha's 5 years in power, not a single factory was built, except for the Coca-Cola factory, which was grandly inaugurated, and which Berisha called the swallow of the new industry. Only 5 kilometers of road were built, while all the roads in Albania were more destroyed than during the war. The slogan was launched, "We rule, the world helps us." What is the responsibility of the Western powers for the situation created in Albania? After the overthrow of the socialist system, all the windows and doors of Albania were open to foreigners. Those who arrived were not simple tourists, but politicians, economists, and businessmen. Did these men not see the state Albania was being reduced to, and how the material and cultural values of the Albanian people, conquered and maintained over the centuries at the price of blood and sacrifice, were disappearing? There is a rumor in Albania, and it is not without foundation, that everything that happens in our country is part of scenarios already prepared on both sides of the Atlantic. At the time when Salih Berisha visited all the capitals of Europe and the United States and promoted the results obtained by Albania, saying that the income of Albanian citizens was higher than that of all the former communist countries of Eastern Europe, is it possible that all these countries, as well as the International Monetary Fund and the European Bank, did not know that in Albania there was no production, that unemployment was almost total, that young people were attacking the Italian coast and the barriers of the Greek border, and that finally the population survived thanks to the foundations of the Rentier pyramids? No, the United States, like Europe, was well aware of the situation in Albania and knew that it was heading towards catastrophe. But the Western powers thought that Salih Berisha was the man they needed, supported him, stroked his ego, and did everything they could to ensure that he would win. He was always personally accompanied by the American ambassador to his election rallies, an illegitimate and unprecedented act. He had the declared support of the President of the Council of Europe, Madame Elaine Fischer. Germany and Great Britain sent experts to give instructions on how to organize an election campaign. With the help of all sorts of manipulated polls and sophisticated methods, they tried to convince public opinion that victory in the elections of May 26 would be for the Democratic Party, because behind the scenes, using regulations and laws imposed by the PD majority in Parliament, all measures were taken to make this victory a reality. But the imposters were not content with a reasonable and acceptable percentage. Overzealous and violent at the polls, the Democrats stole the people's votes and declared that they had won 80% to 90% of the vote. This victory intoxicated Salih Berisha, and when on May 28 the opposition, the socialists and their social democratic and liberal allies, rushed to Skanderbeg Square, the leaders and voters of this party were mercilessly beaten and bloodied. At that time, Salih Berisha thought that from now on no one could remove him from the presidential throne. Ignoring the reports of the OSCE observers, he scheduled the next elections for the year 2000, and the majority of his party in Parliament gave him a second term as president of the Republic, until a state of war was declared in the country. Only we, who had lived through the war years under Nazi fascist occupation, knew what a state of siege meant, to which we had been subjected only twice within 24 hours, when homes were inspected, while the ceasefire was practiced at night and only in Tirana. The youth and generations who lived through the 50 years of people's power did not know what a ceasefire or state of siege meant. Nexhmije Hoxha's strategy for the country's development and national unity. From a historical and geographical point of view, Albania is divided into 2 parts, the north called Guegweri and the south called Toskeri. In the distant past, there were clear differences in the area of culture, dialects, customs, and way of life, as well as in the religious and economic social areas. The country's enemies wanted to use this division to benefit their expansionist and chauvinistic interests. Serbia targeted the north and Greece targeted the south. But the Albanian people never accepted the idea of a fight between Albanians of a fratricidal civil war and of the north fighting the south and vice versa. The great representatives of the Albanian Renaissance did an excellent job in defending the territorial integrity and national unity of Albania. Religion was not a determining factor in the division of the population in the country. Catholics make up 10% to 11% of the population and are concentrated in the north, where the main city is Shodra. Orthodox Christians make up about 20% of the population and are concentrated in Korka, Berat, Tirana, etc. The rest of the population is Muslim and is spread throughout the country, but their presence is more evident in the central and northeastern regions of Albania. In the north, Catholics have always been in agreement with Muslims in facing side by side the intentions and aggressions of the Orthodox Serbs and Montenegrins. In the south, Muslims pay homage to the Orthodox martyrs who had been cruelly tortured, poisoned, and massacred by the Orthodox Patriarchate of Constantinople, because they fought for the preservation of the Albanian language under the slogan, Albania is the religion of the Albanians, or other slogans such as, Albania is a single country from south to north. With the exception of Shkodra, where Catholics in general and the clergy were linked to the Vatican and distinguished themselves by the culture. The rest of the Catholics lived in mountain villages whose residences were far apart from each other due to feuds and disputes for economic, social, and moral reasons, and due to occasional enemies and foreign aggressors. These regions were extremely poor and backward. The Nazi fascist occupiers took advantage of this situation and recruited mercenaries who were sent to wage war against the people who were fighting in the cities and mountains to regain their lost freedom. Above all, they sent them to the south, propagating that the fighters in that region were Slavic and Greek communists. One of the most important points of Enver Hoxha's strategy after the liberation of the country was to strengthen the unity between the population of the north, the Glegs, and the population of the south, the Tosks. A whole program was drawn up and implemented with the aim of reducing the economic, cultural, and social differences between these regions. Work was done to ensure that the population of these regions would not move away and that these strategic regions, highly coveted by the Serbs and Montenegrins, would not become deserted. It was with this aim that attempts were made to exploit the subsoil of these regions, which were very rich in rare and precious minerals, to exploit the forests and pastures and to develop livestock farming. In every family there was someone who worked in the mines or sawmills, and the salaries corresponding to these jobs were higher than those paid to workers in other professions. In order to complete the education of the population of these regions, priority was given to accessing vocational schools and universities for young people from these regions. Salih Berisha is an example of a beneficiary of this policy. Salih Berisha did exactly the opposite. He destroyed and shut down all production enterprises and encouraged internal immigration in the name of democratic rights and freedom of movement. The world and foreigners do not know that this migration of the population within the country was more painful than that of the refugees who attacked Italy or Greece. These internal immigrants are no less numerous than those who left abroad. They number about 500,000 and they're even more miserable because living in the suburbs of Tirana and Durrës, they lack shelter and work, and it is among them that Berisha's criminal gangs find refuge. By bringing these poor mountaineers closer to Tirana and sending many of them south to the most beautiful and productive centers, Berisha's diabolical spirit aimed to obtain their votes and intended, if the opportunity arose, to arm them, as he effectively did to crush the popular uprising in Vlora and the other centers of the south, which he considered communist and personal enemies. A traitor and criminal to his own country, Berisha did everything he could to put into practice the historically known plans to provoke a civil war between the north and the south, to divide Albania and give the north to the Serbs and the south to the Greeks. But Italy could not remain a spectator. It always wanted its share. This was no longer the time of the Second World War. It was no longer 1920 or 1939. It was no longer the time of the outbreak of conflicts. Despite this, assault tanks and warships, as well as well-fed, well-equipped, and well-armed soldiers, were sent to Albania to stop the impetus of the Albanian rebels and to cool their heads. In the name of peace and humanitarian aid, the multinational forces put a stop to the popular revolution. Albanian patriots, anti-fascists, communists, and all of us welcome the decision of the Communist Free Foundation Party to vote against sending troops to Albania. And for this we are grateful, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts, as well as all our friends who supported us in these difficult days. It was a great spiritual comfort for us to know that although the people were armed and Berisha and his collaborators were organizing criminal gangs that were sowing chaos and terrorizing the people, no incidents occurred with the multinational forces. It was a great pleasure to see that the people in this explosive situation showed their wisdom by participating en masse in the elections and casting their votes for the socialists, ensuring that they, together with their allies, obtained 2/3 of the seats in parliament. In the capital, which was considered the stronghold of the Democratic Party, voters did not cast a single vote for the deputies of the Democratic Party. These results proved to what extent the people detested Salih Berisha, who destroyed and shamed Albania, who caused the death of so many young people, who deprived us of the state, the army, and everything else. Berisha was the curse of Albania. He was the Nero of Albania. But the people's concerns are not over yet. They voted for the socialists and have a coalition government, but they are losing patience and do not understand how Berisha, who has committed so many crimes, can be allowed to go free and for how long. He does everything he can to prevent the normal work of the government, organizing hunger strikes, protests, and demonstrations every day, appearing on television, in press conferences, etc. People are asking themselves, who is hiding behind this man, apart from his close associates, who are involved in criminal acts and corrupt to the core? Who on the other side of the border wants to prolong Salih Berisha's political life? This is why in recent times there has been an increase in demands from groups from different social classes for the legalization of the Albanian Communist Party, which, although illegal, has gained great support from the electorate. All this means that the situation in Albania is not yet calm or secure. Having brought Albania to the brink and the Albanians into extreme poverty, the Western powers, the United States, the Council of Europe, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank can dictate to Albania what it should do. We have lost our political and economic independence, but the Albanian people have always fought throughout history to survive, for independence and freedom. The popular uprising in Vlora and all the centers of the South, as well as the solidarity shown by the North, once again proved the fighting spirit of the people, which gives us courage and makes us hope for better days for Albania and the Albanians. Source. Added. May 10, 2021. Original text rate. This translation.